What's up, everybody? You're tuned into another episode of the Flea Flicker Show. We are your hosts, Fred and Dre. We drop episodes when we can. We try to every week, but it's the off season now, so we'll drop them when we feel like it. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on social media at Flea Flicker Show. Dre, tell them what we got going on.
Yeah, so last video we went over the offensive free agent signings, and today, well, not the signings, but just the free agency. And today we're going to go over the defensive side of the ball. Every big name free agent we will be talking about. And that's pretty much all we got in the docket. Other than that, we got a little news, and luckily, they're also both defensive guys, so it really works with today's theme. Um, but the first guy, Jalen Johnson signed with the Bears. We kind of knew he was re-signing. He got franchise tagged, and they wanted to bring him back. He signed a big deal, 4 years, $76 million. He's getting that generational wealth coming in. Good for him. Proud of him. And I like him. So, yay for the
Yeah,
Bears.
good for him. He's one of the best young corners in the league, and
Yeah.
definitely a cornerstone of that defense on a young team.
Yeah, and the other guy that signed is an older guy that I used to absolutely love in my early 20s. That is Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger himself. He re-signed with the Saints, 2 years, $13 million. He's making that bag still in his 30s, so good for him. He's actually from New Orleans, which I didn't realize, which I guess
Oh
is
wow,
why he's playing for him right now.
yeah, I didn't realize that. It's pretty cool. But he played for LSU, so I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, he played until he got kicked off the team, but,
Yeah,
bygones.
and still got drafted, so.
Yeah, he
Still got
did.
drafted. Still had an excellent career to this point. So,
Yes, sir. Still won a
um,
Super Bowl ring.
yeah, yeah. Hey, we're on a similar color palette today. So,
I was noticing that too.
yeah,
Let's hop into these free agents though. What do you
yeah,
want to start with, man? There's plenty to talk about.
yeah. Let's start with one of the guys that we thought was going to get franchise tagged, and did not. It's Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins with Dolphins. He did not get franchise
Good
tagged.
man.
Although I do think that they're still going to try to work out a deal to get him re-signed. They're pretty strapped for caps. So you
Yeah,
could see some uh, negotiations there with the people they already have in place and just restructuring of their contracts to try to get stuff over his signing bonus and free up some cap space there because he's a piece they don't want to let go of. Um, but I think they will. I think ultimately he's going to go someplace else, and I think that is going to be a team that is just going to offer him a shit ton of money because he's one of the top 10. He was before franchise tag being one of the top 10 free agents available, and now he should be right there in the upper echelon in terms of who's available. So I have him going to either the Commanders or the Titans and just
yeah,
securing an absolute bag.
yeah. I agree with you. I would like to see him back with Miami, but I don't think. I think somebody's gonna beat them out on an offer. Basically, just what you said.
Yeah.
Um, it could be like damn near anybody though. So many people want him because he's a great player, and he's pretty much the top like defensive tackle out
Yep.
there. I mean, you can say Chris Jones, but we'll talk about him in a little bit. But Christian Wilkins is a beast, and I don't know. I wrote down Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Houston. I saw all of those teams linked to him, as well as quite a few more, but those were the three that I wrote down. And it's really just going to be whoever gives him the most money, I think. I mean, I think Houston's honestly a really good choice because they have a lot of money right now, and they're trying to go big, and they have a defensive coach. So I'm going to say Houston. Let's stick with D tackle, another big name out there that was a giant, and I really enjoy this guy. That's Big Cat Leonard Williams. Um, we traded him to the Giants. Traded him to the Seahawks for like I think a third round pick or some shit
Yeah.
earlier in the year, and now he's a free agent, and Seattle might not be able to pay him. So there's a couple teams
Heard
that
Seattle.
think about.
Seattle's got some free agents. We mentioned yesterday they have their safety, their two safeties that they released. Um, but there's talk of them wanting to bring back the safeties. I haven't heard any talk of them really wanting to bring back Leonard Williams, although I think it'd be stupid for them not to.
After the
But
trade, especially, yeah.
yeah, yeah, especially after the trade and the value that they gave up for him. So a reunion there could be likely. However, I have Houston and Tennessee as my two teams to kind of go for him.
Yeah, I think Seattle wants to re-sign him, but they're not going to break the bank to re-sign him. and Leonard Williams is he's going to take that bag.
Yeah.
And I have Jacksonville actually as a team that would like to sign Leonard Williams, and I would absolutely love for him to go play with Josh Allen in Jacksonville. That'd be
Yeah, it's
nasty.
just tough in Jacksonville because they don't have a lot of money.
Fair, that's fair.
Yeah, they're pretty strapped for cash.
Another one is
And they have to look at
Vegas.
their own. They have to look at their own free agents too that they have there
Like
as
Josh
well,
Allen.
like Calvin Ridley. Yeah, they. I mean, they did franchise tag Josh Allen. I'm sure they're going to try to work out a long term deal with him. And then Calvin Ridley there as well. Do they want to bring him back into the fold, or
Hmm.
do they just go with what they have and draft another receiver?
Yeah. Another team for Leonard Williams that I liked that kind of fits is the Raiders, Las Vegas, because Leonard Williams' old defensive coordinator is the Raiders' defensive coordinator still. So it's a good match,
Yeah,
and
and
they
I
want
mean,
a little bit of money, so maybe they bring him in.
new coach, players coach that people like, being in Vegas. I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a good destination for a lot of people. I think people are going to want to go to Vegas, and it's a fun place to play. It seemed like the players had a lot of fun there with Antonio Pierce. So fun team, fun city. It could be a good destination for a lot of teams.
Hmm.
Fun team, fun city, a lot of money.
Yeah. Sticking with defensive tackle, we have to mention our guy,
Yeah.
Daquan Jones.
Yeah, I
Derek.
actually had him as one of the sleepers in the draft, or not draft, in the and free
He's getting
agency.
drafted
So
again?
I have him as one of the sleepers because he's not really talked about too much, but he's very disruptive.
He
He's a
is.
massive body in there. It takes up a lot of space. Uh, he was huge for Buffalo when healthy last year. The only problem is he wasn't healthy most of the year. So,
Hmm.
um, but he is an absolute unit there in the middle. 317 pounds. Was he 6'5"?
Yeah, he's a big guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
think
320, 6'5", somewhere like that.
I'm
Big guy.
thinking he re-signs with Buffalo. That's what
Would
I'm
love it.
thinking.
Would love it. I actually have him re-signing with Buffalo as well.
Yeah, I think he wants to be there. I think they want him. He's not going to be overly expensive. He's not going to be cheap either. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
No,
another
I
team
mean
I
he's
put
got
up
he's
there.
got the ties in New York. I mean
Yeah,
he's got the restaurant he owns. He's from New York. He's happy there. He's not gonna go away unless he gets offered a lot of money that Buffalo can't match.
which I don't think would happen.
No,
One team I
especially
did
coming
put
off
up
the
there.
injury riddled season.
Yeah, one team I did put up there also just to kind of put one up there was the
Yeah,
Bengals. I don't know. Maybe they want Daquan Jones.
it makes sense though. I mean, I have the Bengals listed on a lot of my situations for maybe free agents that might not be as quite as expensive as others.
Hmm.
So kind of like bargain options because they are a little strapped there. There's not a lot of wiggle room. So I do have some of the lesser known free agents going to Cincy.
There's one big name that I want to talk about first with the D end and edge rusher in general, and that is Danielle Hunter. He is. It might be arguable. I think he's the top target though at that
He's
position.
nasty, dude.
He's
Like
very
like
good.
outside of trade targets, he's definitely the top target.
Yeah.
Um, like in terms of trade targets, you could argue that Hassan Reddick is up there, but I think Daniel Hunter, he's younger than Hassan, right?
He might be. I don't know that offhand.
But
He's not like
yeah,
super young, but yeah.
yeah. But anyway, like in terms of a free agent getting them without giving up more assets, I think just because of that, he is more valuable. But both of those two guys have been at the top every single year in terms of sack generation. So uh, Daniel Hunter is definitely going to be on the market, and people are going to be like every team that's in need of an edge rusher is going to be calling.
Yeah, the Vikings definitely want to re-sign him, but this is another
Right.
case where they just might get outbid for his services.
Yeah. Again, they don't have a ton of money. They don't have a ton of space. So they could just get outbid.
Yeah, and one team that I think is a good match and that I've been hearing about is the New York Giants for Daniel Hunter
Ooh.
because
I have seen that. Yeah.
his old coach is our D line coach. We have a little bit of money that we can throw around. We're looking for another edge guy. to go with Tibbs and
That'd be a
Aziz.
nasty tandem there, you know?
Yeah, because Aziz just can't stay healthy. So Danielle Hunter could come in, step in right away, and Tibbs could learn from him. That'd be a great guy to
Yeah.
learn from back there too.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah, that'd
yeah,
be awesome. I would hate to see it as an Eagles fan, but it would be definitely a great option for you guys. I think that would definitely make your D line certainly ferocious. I mean, you got a lot of talent there back there, so that'd be
yeah.
tough.
Some
Tough
other
to
teams
play
I have,
against 2 times a year.
yeah, some other teams I have also for him are maybe the Lions. They like their nasty players on defense, and they're looking
Mhm.
for possible. I don't know. They're just looking for playmakers, really. And then
I've actually got
also,
Go ahead.
and also the Raiders. The Raiders,
Okay.
I think, are just going to be like up there for a lot of the big name defensive players. I think that's what they're looking for.
Um, I got a couple teams that you didn't mention there. I got New England. I think New England with a defensive coach are going to go in all in on defensive players and just make that their identity. Obviously, they'll address the offense as well, but they don't have a solidified quarterback at this time, so the offense can only do so much. So I think defense is going to be where they try to address most of their money. I have Washington as well. They have so much fucking money, and they do have to replace the edge rushers that they sold off last year for assets. And then Houston as well. I think Houston's going to be a player on for any defensive player.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Not
Houston's got
even
a lot of
defensive player.
money,
I think Houston's going to be a player for like pretty much a
like
fucking free
everybody.
agent. Like, yeah, I think people want to play there because like they're
Yeah,
fun, they're young, they have a lot of money, and they're going places. So I think a lot of people want to play there. But
yeah, I
Daniel
agree.
Hunter is certainly an exciting piece in the free agency market.
I like that you said Washington. I actually hadn't really considered Washington much, just because I don't think people would really want to go there with all the everything that's been going on. But they do have a lot of money. They got a new coach, defensive
Yeah.
minded guy, and so yeah, I guess you really should keep them in mind for a lot of these big name guys. Um,
And again,
yeah,
they're another team that doesn't have an identity at quarterback. They're going to draft one, probably Drake May. But the with a defensive minded coach, you got to think that they're going to address that defense. That they're going to kind of try to try to stop and slow down both the Eagles and Cowboys offenses within their own division. So let's look at Chase Young.
yeah, that's who was next on my list too.
Yeah,
There's you could
Chase.
go basically anywhere.
Basically anywhere. I mean, he was a top pick in the draft. He's been very good anywhere he's gone. Obviously, San Francisco is probably going to try to work something out, but again, they're so loaded everywhere that they're probably not going to be able to afford what he's going to get offered unless they do some serious restructuring of contracts. But um, again, it's pretty similar to Daniel Hunter. I have New England and Houston on there as well, but then I also have Chicago. I have Chicago as an option that I think would be make a lot of sense for Chase.
Yeah, I like this. We're throwing out different teams for every single name we talk about. Because for Chase Young, I actually have like San Francisco, of course, as a possibility. But I think actually the Steelers are going to be interested in his services. He could go in there and play with T.J. Watt, and that'd be a nasty duo back there. So I think that'd be
Yeah, it
a
would.
solid place. And then another team I want to mention is the New Orleans Saints actually as a possible option for him there. I mean, we can hit like
Let's
Jonathan
see.
Grenard next, the Houston Texans guy. He's a guy that I originally thought was going to be re-signed for sure by the Texans, but in the past few days, it's been looking like since they're going after so many other targets, Grenard
Mm,
could end up slipping out of their fingers. And
yeah,
a
just
team
slips through the
actually,
cracks.
yeah, a team like the Cleveland Browns actually came up when I was researching him as an option that might be interested in his services. So I put the Browns as possible landing spot to steal him away from the Texans there.
Okay. It's interesting you said the Browns because I actually have the Browns as a destination for my next guy.
Mm,
Um, but I'll get into that. Yeah, but regarding him, I think ultimately he can re-sign with the Texans. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. But yeah, any really defensive-minded team like the Browns, like like the Browns, maybe Washington again, like offering money. Because again, I think Washington is just going to throw a fuck ton of money at everybody. Like they got what $90 million in
till
cap
something sticks.
available. Yeah, like I think they're just going to like it's fucking monopoly money. Just throw it at
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Who's
Uh, the
who did
next
you?
guy I had is Zadarius Smith.
Okay.
So I had him listed for Browns, Arizona, and Detroit. Um, I think either of those would be good options for him. I think it'd be fun person in on the Browns to pair there on the defensive line, and then I also think he'd be very fun with the Lions and Hutchinson. I think it'd be great as well with Arizona. I think the Jonathan Gannon defenses are pretty fun. Uh,
hmm
they do get after it, and I think it did that pretty well.
Yeah, Arizona. I do like that as a spot for him. He, I think Arizona's kind of like Washington, where they're gonna have a good amount of money and they're just gonna be thrown at good players because they had their year where they weren't good, and now this is the year where they're supposed to improve a little. So they're gonna want some big name guys to help lead that team on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's a good spot for him. And then Detroit actually also I like for him as well for the same reason you said. Um, Another guy in here is Bryce Huff, the Jets guy. I think the Jets are definitely going to be interested in bringing him back. And ultimately, I think probably that's going to be where he ends up, just re signing with the Jets. But there could be other places he lands too. A lot of the teams we mentioned already. But I also wanted to say the LA Rams are definitely going to be a name that you want to
Mhm.
consider because they're a team that they last year they got rid of a bunch of big name guys. They got rid of a bunch of money that was locked up. This year they know Matt Stafford's back. They got a new Puka Nakua and the running back both proved themselves. And they're like, okay, we're a playoff team again already. Let's go out and get some big name guys again. So Bryce Huff could be one of those guys that comes in for him.
Yeah, it's a good point there. Definitely good points into where he might go. For Huff, again, like I think that he's ultimately going to resign with the Jets, just like you. But as another name, I had three teams listed. I had Detroit, Houston, and Philly. I think he's an
Really?
affordable option as a defensive edge rusher. And with the Eagles looking to potentially trade Hassan Reddick, and they always live in the trenches, I think that could be a good match in terms of Philly. Detroit, again, like just building out that defense. The defense, what happened to be uh, one of the Lions' not so strong suits last year.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly pass defense. So anybody that can really get after the quarterback, I think will make a lot of sense for Detroit. And who was the other team I had?
Yeah.
Houston. Yeah. Houston's just going to go after every defensive player. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I
I
also
honestly think I have Houston written down for like every defensive player on here.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I also I'd be remiss to not mention the Giants also as a landing spot for Bryce Huff because as they're looking at edge players, Bryce Huff is literally already in the Metropolis area with the Jets, so
Mhm.
it wouldn't even be a move. It would just be a different color on the jersey. So possibility for the Giants as well.
Possibility.
Yeah, Brian Burns. I did want to mention San Francisco really tried to trade for him at the deadline. So maybe if they offer something crazy, the Panthers could jump on it. But yeah,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could see the fucking Panthers trading Brian Burns, but I mean they think they're amazing and they still think they're going to be somehow make the playoffs and somehow win their division. So I doubt that they're going to trade him, but I mean they raised their ticket prices after getting 2 wins last year. So um,
and then
yeah,
threw their drinks on the fans.
yeah. Guy who operates I mean, let's just transition into like general linebackers from here, I guess.
Yeah,
Just because some of them do operate kind of in a hybrid role there. Um, a guy that I think is very underrated for free agency is Andrew Van Ginkel with the
mm,
Dolphins. Um, that dude's flowing locks underneath that helmet are fucking sick. Um,
gorgeous. Reminds me of
gorgeous,
Clay
gorgeous
Matthews a little
locks.
bit.
Yeah, Clay Matthews a little bit, or what's the guy with Detroit, the Italian guy,
But yeah.
Alex Anzalone.
Oh yeah, Anzalone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's one of those Italian guys. I know my wife's family likes him because he's Italian. They're just like every Italian player. But yeah, I think Andrew Van Ginkel is a very underrated linebacker option, and
Bargain.
I have I have really one destination I think is going to happen. I'm very confident it's going to happen, and it's Philly. I think it's Philadelphia because they do have Fangio, and he did get Van Ginkel to kind of break out and become a name that people kind of know. I
Yeah.
think he will be a price that they will consider, considering they don't invest a lot in the linebacker position. Even though I would love them, every Eagles fan would love them to go after Patrick Queen, but I don't ultimately think it's going to happen because they've never addressed the linebacker position with money, even though it looked to be their
Mm.
biggest weakness last year. I think Van Ginkel is going to be an affordable option that they will go after, and I think it's a perfect match.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he like could resign possibly, but yeah, that makes too much sense to go to Philly. I agree with you. It that's one that wouldn't annoy me too much though. Like
No,
Van Ginkel will be good, but he's not like overly amazing.
now if they got Patrick Queen, you'd be pissed about that.
I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed if they got Patrick.
I think they'll
Let's just
talk. Just you want
yeah,
to go
they'll
to
definitely
Patrick
talk
Queen?
to Patrick Queen. But yeah, ultimately the same thing as you. Patrick Queen, I think, will get priced out for
Yeah.
Philly. And
Um,
there's a team I think is perfect for Patrick Queen too.
okay,
But
I'm
where do you
interested. I'm interested to see who you think is his perfect match. I have the Eagles talking to him. Obviously, I have the Ravens talking to him because he is their free agent.
go?
Um, but then I also have the Lions touching base with him, as well as the Patriots. And I ultimately
Yeah.
think he's going to sign with the Pats.
Gross. I mean, that could happen. I think he's going to end up joining his old D coordinator in Seattle. I think the Seahawks are going to bring him in if they
Really?
lose Leonard Williams. Because if they're paying Leonard Williams, they're not also going to get Patrick Queen
No, not at
probably.
all. No, no way. No
But I
way in
think they're
hell.
going to end up getting Patrick Queen in Seattle there.
No way.
And I think he'd be like their first big defensive signing, take over the backfield, be that captain of the defense, and start that start the Seahawks Legion of Boom again. Maybe I don't know. Who
I
knows?
think they do want to start up the Legion of Boom again, hence their head coach hiring. Um, I think I overlooked Seahawks a little bit there in the free agency aspect, but I do think people will want to play there. I mean, they have a really good offense in place. Um, Regardless of what you think about Geno, he's not a bad
Hmm.
quarterback by any means. Um, so I think that they're going to address the defense there for sure.
Yeah, I
I
do
did
think
realize. Go ahead.
I do think the Steelers are going to touch base with them too,
Yeah,
as another
I think
team.
Steelers are going to touch base with a lot of guys to give T.J. Watt a running mate, so that
Yeah,
everything's just not on his shoulders. Because right now it is, and I mean he puts a lot on his shoulders, and he's still the best defensive player in the NFL. But
yeah.
um, I think they're going to want to shore that up a little bit and just give him some help.
That's actually really the only linebacker I had written down, to be honest with you.
Did realize I forgot a defensive lineman, forgot a defensive tackle, uh,
Oh,
DJ Reader.
yeah, that big name. Yeah,
Yeah, big name, DJ Reader. Had him on here, but
big name,
missed
big guy.
missed him here. So I have him obviously looking to resign with Cincy, but I also have Denver and Indy as potential options for DJ. I think either option would be good for him. Indy is fun for linebackers. I think it'd be a good option there. And Denver, Denver's a tough situation for me because I think it is a good destination for a lot of guys. Um, but with how much shit went down last year, and then just getting rid of like good guys on their team and causing actual Pro Bowl caliber players wanting out on their team, I don't know that it's going to be necessarily a good destination for a lot of
Mm,
people. in terms of them wanting to go there.
Yeah.
Why it makes sense on paper, I don't know that it will actually make sense in the real world. So I ultimately have him just re-upping with Cincy.
Yeah, I think re-upping probably as well for him. He got injured, correct?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think he got a bad injury, so
and
I
that's why I
think
overlooked it.
Cincinnati could end up getting him on a little bit of a bargain because of the injury. And he was big for that defense, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's going to
Even if they
resign.
get him on like a short term deal to kind of like prove it, and then address a re-signing or new contract next year or the year after, I think that definitely makes sense. Um, Yeah, I actually had a couple other linebackers down here. So I'll list these off and let me know what you think. So at Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd, I have going to either the Bills, Rams, or Philly. I think he is another affordable option without allowing teams to be priced out in a sense. I think he
Yeah,
makes sense for a lot.
Leonard Floyd, he's on the Bills, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the guy that is a free agent and like he's a name that's out there, but he basically said like he wants to resign with the Bills. But I could
Mm-hmm.
be wrong. I could be thinking of something. I'm gonna look him up real quick because I don't want to like say the wrong thing. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yep.
Leonard Floyd basically said like he wants to re-sign with the
Yeah, and
Bills.
I actually have the Bills as my number one team for him. Is just a re-signing. Um, so and then going to the next guy, like I have the Bills as the number one option. Rams is two, even though he was with them previously. So just kind of a reunion there. And then Philly as third, just because I think they're going to try to talk with any bargain free agent linebacker available.
Yeah,
Um, because that Fangio loves linebackers, and that was the Eagles' biggest weakness. So I think they're going to be really just number one priorities linebacker for them in the office in the
yeah.
offseason.
And they were
Um,
a wanted destination for some reason, even before they got Vic Fangio. So I mean, it's
yeah,
definitely going to be
and now they have
defensive
Fangio.
players love getting Vic. So
Yeah, sucks for you because they're probably going to resign. They're probably going to sign a lot of guys.
yeah, probably.
um, other linebackers, Levante David, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have him going to either Tampa Bay or Baltimore and having conversations again with Philly because he's in that price range. But I ultimately have him re-signing with the Bucks. I think it makes too much sense. He's had too much success there. He's got roots there. I think he's going to resign there.
Me too.
Josh Uche with the Pats. I have going to Miami. So staying in
Mm,
division and going to Miami, I
I
guess
would love that
replacing Van Ginkel, but
if Van Ginkel
a
leaves, yeah.
better option. Um, and the last linebacker I have is another underrated one, Aziz Al Shair with the Titans.
Mm,
I just don't have anyone listed for where he's going to go. I think that he's going to be such a reasonable target in terms of price point that a lot of teams are going to talk to him. So I truly have
yeah,
no idea. He could resign with the Titans, but he could go to the Giants. He could go to the Eagles. I think he's going to go to a team that doesn't have a ton of cap room um, and is a bargain option there on the market.
yeah. We did get the Titans D coordinator as our new D coordinator, so we're not really looking for a linebacker, but he could come in and play for us either way. Really depends on who looks at him, who wants to give him a starting position somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. So like
Philly
teams
makes sense.
like Giants, maybe like Philly, like Chicago. Um,
For some reason,
yeah.
his name just makes me think that he should be playing for the Colts. I don't know why. It just sounds like a Colts name to me.
Hey, yeah,
Well, we
let's.
uh, we already talked about Jalen Johnson and L'Jarius Sneed, so we don't have to hit them at all. Uh, the corner room is kind of weak now that the big names are gone.
Yeah,
To be real, like the
let's
biggest name is
see.
like Kendall Fuller, I
Yeah, I got
think.
Kendall Fuller as the first name on here on my page. So let's address Kendall. He's been around the league a little bit, coming from Chargers, right? So is that his last team?
Like originally,
His last team. Where was he last year?
Washington.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah, he's on the Commanders. Who could re-sign him
Yeah.
possibly?
Yeah.
But I mean, with how the corner market has ended up, he's probably gonna garner some big money, and I don't know if Washington wants to go that route with him.
Yeah.
They could, they might, but I think two teams specifically are looking for corners right now, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Eagles are looking for a corner. Are they
We
not?
are. We are looking for a corner. And I actually have the Eagles listed as one of my 3 destinations for him, including Washington. But I'm not sure. It's hard to know how it's going to shake out regarding corners. So I think number one
Yeah.
priority for the Eagles is going to be linebacker. Corner wise, the Eagles are already addressing a lot of money there. They're addressing a lot to Darius Slate and to James Bradbury. So um, I do think that they're going to talk to some corners. I don't know. Like you said, he's the top free agent now at this point for corner. So I do think he'll be priced out of the market for Philly
Mhm.
um, as a free agent. I could see them talking with the Chiefs for potentially trading for L'Jarius Sneed, and I think a trade makes the most sense for them to shore up the cornerback position rather than free agency and commit money to Slay, Bradbury, and the income free agent. Um,
Yeah.
so I think a trade makes the most sense for them. But I have them either Washington or Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah,
I think
Chicago's going to be on the list for a lot of
I think
guys too. But they
Chicago
did just re-sign Jalen.
they did, but they need a guy on the other side. So I think uh, somebody on the other side makes sense because Jalen Johnson's good, but they got beat a lot on pass. So having another option there makes a lot of sense, and I think they're going to invest a lot to give him a running mate there in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are ultimately going to sign him. I think they want a big name corner, and he's like the last, like true, like
Corner.
I I don't even know if he's really a big name, but he's a good corner. So I think the Steelers are going to overpay for
Yeah,
him.
and I mean
Is what's going to
they
end up.
would end up having 2 corners, 2 really good corners there in that case because I mean they'd have Fuller and they would also have Porter, who they drafted out of Penn State last year, and he came on very well at the end of the year last year. He was in the defensive
I don't
rookie of
know
the year
why the hell.
candidacy.
I don't know why he dropped in the draft. It made no sense to
Made
me.
no sense, dude. Like he was fucking good. Um, and I wanted him in Philly, but we didn't get him. We got good players. I'm happy about where we got, but um, yeah, I think he's very good. He's gonna have a good future in the league.
Yeah, another guy we could talk about that's relatively big name is Chauncey Gardner Johnson. He's like a safety and corner, like kind of a hybrid type role. Um,
I have a
and
destination for him.
I do too, and I don't like what I think his destination is. What are you gonna say?
Philly.
That's what I think too. It's
Yeah.
so annoying. I hate it.
I think he's coming back to Philly. He had an amazing year after we traded for him from the Saints. Helped us to go to the Super Bowl. We offered him a 3-year deal last year, and he didn't get it. He turned it down and went to Detroit, and ultimately signed for 1 season what each season was in the 3-year deal we offered him. So, um,
Good job.
and he played well there as well. So I think he'll come back. I think he'll get a little bit more than what we offered previously, and I think it's a perfect. I think it's a perfect match.
It is a perfect match. He's such a Philly type player too.
Yeah.
Uh, I actually kind of do like the match just because he's such a dick. I think uh, I think the Giants are going to get a really good receiver, and he Chauncey's just going to be freaking chipping with them all day long. He would have been the perfect foil for OBJ, to be real. But
He chirps. He loves to chirp.
yeah,
The amount that
I think
that's why I loved the amount that him and Debo Samuel went at it because I don't like Debo Samuel even though I have him on Dynasty, but the amount that they just chirped at each other was so much fun.
a couple other teams I was thinking about were the Colts and maybe re-signing with the Lions. I really don't know if he's gonna re-sign with the Lions though,
Yeah, I don't know.
but ultimately,
I think they'll certainly try to re-sign him, and I think why am I blanking on their coach's name? I love their coach. Why am I blanking on his name?
Big Dan
Dan Campbell. Yeah,
Campbell.
I think Campbell is. I think Campbell likes him. I think the city of Detroit likes him as well. Just because I think Detroit's pretty similar to Philly, so I think he either re-signs with Detroit or signs with Philly.
Yeah.
Um,
We, we've talked about him for a while, though.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
let's
Let's
move to
move on.
somebody else.
Yeah. Um, so next guy up on my list, I have Steven Nelson. So Steven Nelson, I think coming from Texas, coming from the Texans, and they ultimately did very well with him. I have Zona listed as an option as well as Chicago, but ultimately, I think he just re-signed with Houston. I think it was a good
Yeah.
option there. He had the best season that he's had so far in his career, so I think it goes back to what did well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said about him right there. I think he resigns too, and the other
Yeah.
name teams you mentioned. Yeah, I do.
Um,
We're not talking about Arizona a lot right now for some reason. I think they should be mentioned for like all these names, basically.
Yeah, they have a lot of money. They're a young team. They have a defensive-minded coach. So for any defensive player, they should be an option. Next guy, I have another guy. I don't know if you want to go to
Hmm.
another one yourself.
No, what do you got?
All right, I got Gilmore,
Yeah,
Steph
Stephen
Gilmore.
Gilmore.
Um, I think he resigns with the Dallas Cowboys. Good defense, really good corner room. Although he was the number 3 there, and he only really got playing time because Diggs got hurt. So he could go someplace where he just can get paid and be the number 2. So
That's
um,
what I think is going to happen.
yeah, that
I
that
actually,
definitely could happen.
I think he's going to go back to the Patriots. I think New England's going to bring him back. They got money to throw around. They liked Gilmore. He's a solid player, and he's one of the top corners right now in free
Yeah.
agency. So I
And
think
they
the
have
Pats are.
Gonzalez. And they have Gonzalez at corner number 1. So
Oh, he's nasty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Also,
that makes
Pittsburgh
sense.
could get him if they fail with Fuller.
I would agree with that. I would agree with your take on there for both teams. I just wrote Dallas as a lazy option. So yeah, I didn't even think about it. I thought about it more now than I did when I wrote it down. So um, I think both of yours make sense there.
One guy that I need to mention,
Mm-hmm.
possibly the biggest safety on the market right now. That's my guy, Xavier McKinney. All right, Giants safety. I absolutely would love for us to bring him back, and I really hope we do. He's young, he's really good, and he wants that bag though, and we could get priced out for him because the Giants don't seem to be prioritizing safety, unfortunately, for me wanting him back. So ultimately, I think in my head, for some reason, I think the Packers are going to end up stealing him from us. I think he's
But
going to be nasty for the Packers next year.
I do have him getting stolen, but not by the Packers. I have him getting stolen by a team that, for some reason, likes to take New York players. I have him going to Seattle and replacing
Yeah.
the safeties that they let go.
I
So
actually I think I made this before they cut their safeties, so that's a good option.
yeah, I have him going there. I think that's a good match. But I do like Green Bay. I would like to see them make a little bit of move here, especially on defense, since the offense is very young and made a lot of put a lot of people on notice last year with how good that young unit can be. So, um, yeah, next on my list, I have Cameron Curl.
Well, with McKinney though, real
Oh,
quick,
go ahead. Yeah.
it'd be funny if he went to Seattle because Seattle's safety that they kept is Julian Love, who they signed from the Giants last year. Him and McKinney were our safeties 2 years ago.
Man,
So that'd be fun.
they love their Giants guys. They love their New York dudes.
Yeah, for some reason,
Yeah,
but
I mean Adams, McKinney,
Leonard Williams,
Love, Leonard Williams. They love their New York guys, or just
yeah.
guys connected to you because Geno Smith too.
Hell,
So
even Geno Smith came from New York.
yeah, yeah, they love their New York guys. They're just taking New York castoffs.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, you were gonna talk about Curl.
Yeah, Cameron Curl coming from Washington. He's a good option there. Washington will probably try to re-sign him because they got all that money, but I think they're going to put their eggs into the baskets of the linebackers and defensive line more so than addressing their current free agent, and he is going to sign someone else. So I have him going to either Chicago or Philly.
Yeah, yeah, those spots make sense. I'm not gonna add anything to be honest to that
No,
one.
I
It
mean
makes sense.
he's a good option. He's not gonna make you freak out and say, "Oh, we got this amazing guy coming in." You're looking for upside there more so than anything else than what he's proven so far in the field. But he's relatively young. I think it makes a lot of sense for again teams that don't necessarily have a ton of spending room. or have a few holes to fill.
Yeah, that's actually all I had. Did you have more guys?
I actually have two, one of which is linebacker, so I missed him. Um,
Oh,
I'll address the last defensive back that I have, and that is Awuzie
okay.
with Cincinnati.
Awuzie, yeah.
Yeah, I have him ultimately going back to Cincinnati or signing with Chicago.
Mhm.
Because again, Chicago's going to want to address that secondary corner position, but I ultimately think he's in the price range that fits for Cincy as a resign. So I think he stays
Yeah.
there. And then lastly is another one that I have in my underrated, overlooked, Frankie Louvu with
Mm,
the Panthers. I think he either resigns the Panthers, goes to Kansas City, Dallas, or Philly.
okay. Yeah, I didn't look into Lulu like at all, but
I think he's very underrated. I think the Panthers ultimately make the most sense for him with their defensive coordinator there. He did very well with them last year, but very overlooked. But again, I have him for Philly because he is a cheaper option that they can fill. So you get guys like him or Andrew Van Ginkel, you're able to address two linebacker spots without breaking the bank on them, and address corner and safety as well. So I think they're going to still, I think Howie's going to still try to be very economical there in his approach to the defense. Yeah, but I think he resigns the Panthers ultimately.
yeah, I would agree with that.
That's all I got.
Oh, got a little breaking news. It's not like super huge, but it's a guy we talked about yesterday with the tight ends. The only tight end we talked about, Hunter Henry, resigns with the Patriots.
Boo.
So there are like no tight ends on the market.
Boo. And then who the Dolphins signed Johnny Smith.
Yeah, yeah. Johnny Smith is gone too now.
Yeah,
Dude, all the tight ends are gone. They're
all the
gone,
times. Gesicki's still there.
I guess. A little other news actually. Russell Wilson is visiting the Steelers, apparently.
Russell
That's
Wilson
pretty.
was talking to the Giants.
Stop. Was he actually?
I'm 1,000% serious.
I didn't hear anything about that. That's disgusting, and I don't want it to happen at all. That's no. He's gonna want like some sort of money, I would think.
Yeah, he was talking to the Giants. Ultimately, he just like walked away,
Oh
but like
God,
he was talking to them.
spoke with the Giants, but meeting with the Steelers. So
Yeah, meeting means more.
yeah, that'd be hilarious to me if he signs with the Steelers. He'd probably start over Pickett.
I don't
He
know that
might
he will though, because
actually
they who was it?
Rudolph.
Their GM or somebody there made a comment the other day how they don't want to sign a big name quarterback um, in the free agency. That Pickett's their guy. So I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
he's visiting.
He's visiting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that
I
wraps it
think the
up though.
Steelers need to address their offensive line because
Mm,
it didn't matter who was back there. It didn't matter if it was Pickett. It didn't matter if it was Rudolph, Trubisky. It didn't matter. They weren't getting any time to throw. Um,
yeah, that's why
yeah, their
Rudolph
offensive line's
was
nuts.
better than the other two. I think he's got a little more. He's a little better on his feet than the other two were.
Yeah, a little quicker release, a little better on his feet, and has some
Yeah.
escapability there. But yeah, that's a wrap on another episode. The best way, as always, to support our show is leave a rating or a review on any platform you listen on. And of course, by liking our show, make sure you subscribe to the Flea Flicker Show on YouTube. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on social media at Flea Flicker Show. Thank you once again, Flea Flicker Nation, for tuning in. Until next time.
Click that like button. Click it. Click it.